Hi, I'm Nadia, your host of CCL TV's More Than Packages series. Joining me today, we have Mark Cooper, who's the Sales and Partnership Manager at Starshipit. Mark, thanks so much for joining us today. Now, before we start, I want to ask if Digby is going to be joining us.
He may do. You might hear him barking at the door. We normally get a postman around about 1:15. So yeah, you can definitely hear him. He may come and jump on us and say hello. He likes to get involved in the Zoom meetings.
Yes, I've read one of your articles, and to our viewers, Digby is Mark's dog who joins in on your Zoom calls and some of your meetings. And I read your article where when you're asking people how's it going at the start of a conversation, you often get a false response, and Digby managed to break that kind of trend for one of your meetings going forward.
Definitely, he's a great icebreaker. If you're in a really stuffy meeting and it's everyone's trying to kind of be polite and follow the the etiquette of the Zoom call, there's not much you can do when he kind of leaps in and spills your coffee and creates havoc. So yeah, he's great. He's good. And it's amazing how many people who have been working from home over this last 18 months have got pets. And the craziest situations happen when a pet gets involved in a Zoom call, but it's a great way of being able to talk about normal things.
Absolutely. And also there's the famous BBC News broadcast where the guy's kids came into the back of shot. So yeah, children and pets in Zoom calls is the new thing. So Mark, can you tell us a bit about who you are and your background and your role at Starshipit?
Yeah, definitely. So my name's Mark Cooper. I joined Starshipit back in June 2019. I'm originally a Windsor boy, so I'm very much born, bred, brought up in the Berkshire area. Mum and dad are still down in Windsor. So I've always been local, been immersed in pop culture and music, and quite a great bunch of school friends. Went to all the Windsor schools, Dedworth, Windsor Boys School. And I've worked in the town all my life, so gone through the whole kind of working in clothes shops, in garden centres, in retail share, used cars, everything. I've kind of got involved in pretty much anything in the local area. So yeah, I my role with Starshipit, I'm the Sales and Partnerships Manager for the Northern Hemisphere. So it's quite a big area that I've got.
Yeah, very big, let's say. So how did you go from, working in Windsor, average Joe, so to speak, to now managing the Northern Hemisphere for a huge logistics company like Starshipit?
Yeah, well, I suffer from that imposter syndrome, so I'm actually waiting to be found out any day now. So I think it's strength, actually. Sometimes having lots of different jobs and lots of different experiences actually makes you a more rounded individual. So I've gone through a lot of really bad jobs with really bad bosses, and I've come out the other end thinking that's not a good way to conduct yourself or your business. And I think I've had some really great experience as well, with some really great times. Land on your feet, use those experiences to kind of go on to the next rung of the ladder. And I've kind of, Starshipit actually encapsulates everything I've done. So I've worked, which is obviously a huge courier company, in the mid-90s. Prior to that, I sort of cut my teeth in the motor trade, so I kind of had quite good selling skills. And from DHL, I went into software. So I worked for a Kiwi company called Streamtime, and that was a real change of direction, because I went from sort of the big corporate organization to a very small boutique software company that were basically immersed in the creative industry. So their piece of software was a time project management solution for creative agencies. So any agencies who are creating a website or rebranding or advertising or any media type companies would use Streamtime to manage their teams, their projects. And I really learned a lot about really cool stuff. I managed to kind of get a really good network from working with all the different creative industries and creative companies in London and around about the whole UK, really. And from that, I got quite creative myself and saw things slightly differently as to what I did when I was sort of just growing up, working in sort of the Joe jobs. I wish I'd done graphic design at school. I wish I'd done all these different things. But it's been great to be able to kind of use my experience at Streamtime. So I went from there to Oracle, to NetSuite. So I've gone again from a boutique software company, so another massive, great big corporate. Was there sort of 4 years in sales. Used my experience then really to kind of push myself into the Starshipit role, which ticked all the boxes. So DHL Express, the creative industry, the whole kind of logistics side of things. So yeah, it's been a really interesting, but there's been a few bumps in the road along the way that I'm sure we're going to talk about at some stage.
Yeah, definitely. But Streamit's a New Zealand-based company, right? And
Streamtime,
and Starshipit obviously is a Kiwi-based. Was there any connection there, or?
No. So Streamtime are based in Christchurch in New Zealand, and Starshipit are in Auckland. So they're in the two different sort of areas of New Zealand. But there seems to be a real, I don't know, creative community in that part of the world. Asia Pacific seems to produce these wonderful companies who create these apps, and they've got really charismatic people. I mean, Aaron Green, who was my boss at Streamtime, has gone on to do Grand Designs in New Zealand, and a huge, great project of him building his house, and really crazy, charismatic guy who was totally infectious and, turned everything on its head. Everything that you learn as a salesperson, he kind of did the opposite. And that's what made him really successful. And that's what made Streamtime really successful. And it is to this day. With Starshipit, the founder of Starshipit, a chap called George Plummer, again found that he was in a situation where he was in e-commerce. He was selling products online throughout New Zealand and internationally, but was finding he was having to log into different systems, have different computers, different printers, create different labels for different courier companies, and basically created Starshipit, which brings everything into one place. So these people are so clever at being able to fix a problem, create an idea, and be able to bring it to market. And the company's gone pop in the last sort of 18 months over the sort of pandemic. Things began to really kind of flourish. New Zealand has been in a very different place to what we are. They're pretty much back to normal. Everything's going really, really well over there. So we've had the challenge of not being able to see people face to face and do our exhibitions and do all of the different things that we do. And part of my role as partnerships manager is going out, seeing people, speaking to them, seeing the whites of their eyes, and being able to do deals and just spread and evangelize the product. So it's been very different way of selling, different way of putting Starshipit out there over the last sort of 18 months.
Well, you said that they've done really well over that time. How have they supported their employees in terms of lockdown? Obviously, it's been a struggle for most people. How has it been for you, and how have Starshipit supported you?
Well, I'm really lucky. I mean, even though I'm the only employee in England, I've got a very committed team. So the company's sort of broken down into your developers. You've got your customer success team. You've got your salespeople. We've got Jennifer in Australia, Hawk, who's in New Zealand, and then Scott and his team and Anthony and all the guys, they're the customer success team. So what we've done, we've created a culture where, you know, we get that customers need someone to talk to. They need a point of contact. So we make sure we've covered pretty much every hour over the day. So the way they support me is they work late, they work early. Sometimes I work late, sometimes I work early. The wonderful thing about working from home is being flexible and being able to have you know, to commit to different times of the day and still go out and walk the dog, spend time with the family and whatnot. So from a support perspective, the most important thing for me is when I bring on a new customer is the onboarding experience. How is that for them? And you know, the great thing, the fortunate position I'm in is when somebody signs up for a trial at Starshipit, and we get a number of inquiries every single day. We call them, we phone them, we qualify them, and we manage expectations from the first point of contact. What we find is customers expect somebody to be there. What we've got from you know, feedback we've got from the customers in general is that our competitors are sometimes very difficult to get hold of, and there's a bit of a delay in getting answers back. So we're quite lucky. We've got a team who are just willing to stay up late if needs be. If there's any technical issues, then, you know, there's people who are prepared to get up in the middle of the night or work till quite late in order to support the UK and EU customers.
So employees and customers, but always have someone to talk to, I guess, which is a huge benefit.
Yeah. Not just that, from a mental health perspective as well, it's very difficult to support remotely effectively. And one of the great things that my COO Abby Bennett, she's very kind of proactive. She'll you know, she wants to know what's going on, how I'm feeling, how I'm getting on with things, and I've been really kind of given a bit of free rein really to join various different because I like speaking, I like going out and networking. Networking is a huge part of my USP, if you like. I love my network's huge. It goes into various different regions, it goes into various different demographics. It's, you know, it's hugely mixed between music, e-commerce, art, culture, all sorts of weird things, cricket, football, all the rest of it. So I've, from a mental health perspective, I've joined a number of different organizations, and I've been on a few courses that have been an absolute revelation and helped me really deal with the last sort of 18 months.
Yeah, you do quite a few talks around mental health, and I know you're involved in something called Chinwaggers as well. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so Chinwaggers is great. Sam Farrow was actually one of my old customers from Streamtime. So Sam Farrow built Karen Brady's website. So Alan Sugar's kind of right-hand woman. She's obviously quite well known for her entrepreneurial. But she's so Sam Farrow built her website. Sam was a great customer of mine back in the Streamtime days, and we've always kind of been in contact through LinkedIn and whatnot. And she advertised this Chinwaggers kind of networking event. And you know, I do a lot of networking events, and I have been doing quite a few online. You know, I do a weekly WooCommerce meetup. I'm involved in all sorts of different things with you know, Shopify and all the rest of them. But Chinwaggers was slightly different, and I sat in on one of the meetings, and there's a chap talking about his journey, his mental health, and where he'd come from, about what his business does. And there was a lot of people on that event, on that call, who were, you know, being quite open and honest about their feelings. But what was really important was that they were all doing business together. And I just thought, I wonder if there's something in this. So I went to a few of these kind of meetups, and I ended up speaking on the last one. And I'm now part of the committee. So we are kind of pushing Chinwaggers a lot more. We're getting a lot of people interested to kind of get involved, and it gives customers a level of trust. One of the big things that's come out of my mental health journey in the last 12 months has been finding your authentic self, being honest and open, and trying to really understand, why you may have certain hang-ups and certain issues with things. And it's, there's such a safe place there to talk about stuff like that. And the great thing is everyone says, oh yeah, go and talk to Mark, he can help you with your e-commerce store. And that's a really nice way to do business. And it's authentic, it's powerful, and it's, hopefully it's going to be something that's going to last a long time. And, I think one of the great things about Sam, we had that relationship back in the Streamtime days. We, very open, very honest, and that's how I try and be with all of my customers. Obviously there's a level of there's a line, but we try and support and help and be as authentic as we can be for people.
But it is really refreshing, and like you said, it's powerful, because hearing, like, even your article on LinkedIn about how's it going, hearing someone in a high position that's in a big corporate company talk openly about that, it makes you think, and it immediately makes you feel like you can talk to that person, I think. So, the more and more people that are open like that, I just think it will open so many doors for business and, for people's mental health. So, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, no, good. Thank you. And there's we're having a Digby moment at the moment. I can hear him. He's doing his thing.
Come in.
He might come bounding in at any moment now. So yeah, it does. You've hit it on the head. It's a trust thing. Long gone are the days when, kicking the door in and, hey, I'm a sales guy. That's gone. That doesn't have a place anymore. And there's a lot of great leaders online who have adopted a new way of thinking. Simon Sinek, I don't know if you've heard of him, American guy. I think he's American or Canadian. But anyway, I follow him on LinkedIn. He's got some great nuggets of wisdom that I kind of use and kind of try and adopt. Mark Caulfield is one of my chinwaggers associates, and he's great at talking about mental health. It's actually his job to go into companies and talk about mental health, and some of the journeys that we've been on are very similar, and it's amazing how many guys don't talk about stuff like this openly, and it can be a huge issue, and it affects everything. If you're free in your mind, then doing business in a professional way is a lot easier.
Yeah, and it just takes more people like you and the people that or the communities that you're in. It's just going to get bigger and easier for men and women to carry on talking. It's really important, and hopefully that's something good that's come out of the pandemic, in that everyone has struggled together, but more people are talking about it. So it's trying to see the positive in that dark year and also that hopefully is now behind us.
Yes, I think vaccines are the way out, and we've been double dosed, me and Mrs. C. My children also, I call them my children. My daughter's 24 and she's a teacher. My son is 18, just about to start uni. My daughter's had both her jabs now. My son's just had his first jab. So yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, it's great that everybody's beginning now to kind of mix again, and not seeing your mum and being able to hug your mum. What's that all about? It's horrible.
Yeah, well, that's one of the struggles that everyone's had over that time that's not helped with mental health. But yeah, on the up, positive, we're looking forward, and good times are coming. Now, just moving on to the UK-Australia trade deal. I'm sure you've read about that recent news. What are your initial thoughts on that, Mark?
Well, I'm not really too much across it, because I've been immersed in the Brexit situation for the last few months. Jen, my colleague in Australia, is probably going to be more kind of involved in that side of things. But at the moment, we're literally with the big launch of the IOSS, the import one-stop shop, which happens on the 1st of July. That's really where our focus has been. My focus has been as partnerships manager and looking after the Brexit issues. We're not in the sunny uplands at the moment. We're still having a lot of fallout, a lot of customers struggling with trading in the EU. So that's been our focus. I think when we get a bit more clarity on what's going to happen, then we're quite lucky, really. We've got a really amazing relationship with DHL Express. So DHL Express actually chose Starshipit as their global partner for the shipping integration platform. So they didn't go to any of the competition. They came straight to us because of our amazing interface, the way the system works. But we're very lucky that our relationship with DHL Express, they tend to be the front end of all of these issues. So we're quite fortunate in a way, because we can fix the software to the expectancy, for EORI numbers, HS codes, all of that great stuff. All of that has been, what we've been working with our retailers and our customers.
But DHL, actually, they've got quite a few sustainable initiatives going on at the moment. Are Starshipit involved in that, or do you have any?
Yeah, so we're very, very aware of sustainability, and DHL Express have a great kind of program, a green program. So with Starshipit, George's wife actually, her company is a company called the Better Packaging Company. So if you Google them, they're incredible. So they hate packaging. So their USP is sustainable packaging, and obviously we work quite closely with them over in Asia Pacific, with all of the retailers over there. Everybody's really aware of them. They're sort of branching out globally. So we're quite lucky that we've got a real aware team who are sort of very close to all of that. And one of the big things that DPD, DHL Express, UPS, they have now this paperless trade option. So rather than printing off, hundreds of bits of paper when it comes to your customs documentation, we've now enabled Starshipit to accommodate the paperless trade options for all the integrators and the carriers. So you don't have to print off anything, it's sent electronically. So that's a huge thing. Absolutely,
yeah, that'll make a huge difference. It just takes, a couple of companies doing that, and it makes a massive, massive difference. So, yeah, another thing that hopefully, is just going to grow everyone's views and initiatives moving forward.
Yeah, it's awareness, isn't it? It's just getting people aware, and that carbon footprint. It's too late now. We have to literally do everything we can to make sure we're not, adding to the issue anymore, adding to the problem anymore.
Definitely. Now, have Starshipit got any future developments coming up that we can talk about?
Yeah, so we are. So the pandemic has knocked us sideways from a recruitment perspective. So we are recruiting for more boots on the ground for some technical support and support people. So we're in the process of building out the UK Northern Hemisphere team, which is great. From an integration perspective, we're always looking for the next integration. So we are in the process of building out FedEx and TNT. So that's coming later on this year, and Parcelforce as well. So we've just recently completed the Hermes integration. So one of the big things is making sure that we are providing integrations to the biggest and most popular carriers within the UK. So the next one is the next big one is FedEx, and then Parcelforce.
Excellent. And how do you feel like an organisation like CCL could take advantage of what Starshipit has to offer?
Well, we've got access to our API, so it will be really interesting to see what we could actually do with you guys from a perspective of our tech, because it's there's different ways that you can use our technology. Like I said before, with customs clearance, it's something that's kind of taken care of through the integrators. But we have an open API, so that can be plugged in some way. So there could be some scope for us to talk about future partnerships.
Definitely. Well, there's so many things that we want to talk to you about, and we'd love to have you back on and investigate more. So yes, we will be having more conversations. I now want to go full circle, Mark, and rewind a few years, and I want you to tell us about your DJing years.
Really? Okay. Right. So
it's funny. I guess there's you've got a few hats that you wear, haven't you? So you've got this amazing job in a really successful company like Starshipit, and you're also a DJ, drummer, used to do festivals and have residencies. So yeah, tell us about that. It's really interesting.
So yeah, I suppose when I first got into music, because like I said, I've been always sort of involved and immersed in pop culture since I was a nipper. I was a huge Adam and the Ants fan. I loved the fact that he had two drummers. But when you're young, you're watching Top of the Pops, you just think, oh, I'd love to do that. That'd be so cool. I'd love to play the drums. And I was never allowed to play the drums, actually. My brother was a guitarist, so we always had guitars in the house. I've got guitars in the house now. But
drums is every parent's worst nightmare, isn't it? With your
yeah,
especially if there's toddlers just kind of banging.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I got into kind of music quite seriously when I was sort of 15, 16, got into kind of electro and hip hop, and we were beatboxing and breakdancing on the street. And when I turned 18, I went on my first lads holiday. It was just me and my mate Richard, and we went to Ibiza. It was 1988. I was 18 years old, and at the time I was working in a menswear store in Windsor with an incredibly cool manager. We were really right in the middle of the epicenter of what was to become the kind of acid house scene in the area. And I'm going to drop a name now. Maybe some people might have heard him. A guy called Andrew Weatherall used to come into our shop and talk to us about music, and he dropped off these T-shirts. And when he found out that me and my mate were off to Ibiza, this actual Boys Own Productions, this is a record label that sort of came later on. So we had Boys Own T-shirts that we wore in Ibiza, and we got into all the clubs.
Who's this? You and your friend Richard?
Me and my friend Richard, off the back of Weatherall's T-shirts, and he said, "Oh yeah, go to these different places." Anyway, long story short, I went to a club called Amnesia, and there was a guy there, DJ called Alfredo, and all of a sudden he played a Prince record, and it was it just suddenly just all made sense. I all of my kind of history of music and all the rest of it just began to kind of make there was a moment of clarity, and I just thought, I love music. Music is just where it's at for me. Came back from Ibiza, and things were just kicking off, and in Windsor, people wearing bandanas, dungarees, dancing till 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and all of that kind of good stuff. And I just started collecting vinyl. I started playing records. I followed Andrew Weatherall about, talked to him a lot about his music, followed him into the record shop and asked the guy in Revolution Records in Windsor, what did Andrew buy today? And then he used to kind of copy what he was doing and play to my mates, really. I had pretty good records at the time, and I'd go and I spent an absolute fortune on vinyl, and then started playing a few things. So yeah, moved forward a few years, found God, went to church, got rid of all my records, burnt them all, which was a crazy thing to do at the time. But it was there was a whole bunch of kind of negative stuff that was happening, and that whole club scene. I'm not going to spell it out, but there's a lot of things that go hand in hand with the high life. There's a very low life as well, and I needed to kind of get away from it all, so I got rid of everything. And I remember going to this furnace in Ascot High Street at the police station with all of my vinyl and burning it in this furnace and this big black cloud, and it just felt this big kind of release. 2 weeks later, I'm thinking, oh no, what have I done? My very, very good friend Archie said, oh, my mate's just shut down a record shop and he's getting rid of loads of vinyl. Do you want it? So, and that's kind of how my life's been, really. All these weird things have happened along the way. So a lot of the stuff that I burned, I got back in these crates. So there, it was, and plus a load of extra really cool stuff. So all this really weird stuff. And so I had this amazing record collection. While I was in church, I learned how to play the drums, which I'd always wanted to do. I was on we were on a trip to Rouen in France, and I was listening to Simple Minds on my Walkman, and we've driven up to this church, and there was a piano, a guitar, and a drum kit. And we had a pianist, we had a guitarist, we had a really cool worship band. And Steve, the pastor of the church, said, oh, does anyone play the drums? And everyone was like, yeah, Coops does. He's always tapping on stuff. So I literally, first time I ever sat on a drum kit, sat on this drum kit and we played. And that was when I fell in love with playing the drums. So I learned how to play the drums. About 3 or 4 months later, I'm in the worship band at church. There was all these young people. We were actually called PMT, Paul, Mark and Tom. And that was that we were the worship band. So yeah, from that, I went to a few open mics. I met a whole bunch of musicians. I joined a Jimi Hendrix covers bands, learned all the Jimi Hendrix back catalogue, and kind of drifted into music that way, really. So I'd learned what I'd learned in church is how to listen. I also obviously playing a little bit of guitar throughout my life. I had quite a musical brain. Had a few drum lessons, didn't really get on with it, but then started kind of playing out with different bands, depping for different bands, and started building up my record collection again. And that's when I sort of jumping a few years ahead now. I joined. I actually started a residency in Windsor at a bar called Bar 51, and we had all of the DJs from the sort of acid house scene. We had Danny Rampling, Terry Farley, Brandon Block, Al McKenzie from D-Ream, John of the Pleased Women, who was a massive cross-dressing superstar at the time. We had all these wonderful DJs who came down and played in Windsor every week, month. For about 4 years we had that going. So and then I got a radio show on Marlow FM. I did a kind of twice a month show on a Friday night, and invited a lot of these guests, Chad Jackson, a guy called Danny DeMatos, who did the Hear the Drummer Get Wicked track with Chad. They became really good friends, and we sort of used to hang out at Marlow FM, just playing records to each other, chatting, and people loved it. And now I'm at River Radio, so every Friday 9 p.m. till midnight, I curate a weekly show, which is basically a cacophony of electronic music and weird music that makes you dance.
So that's still on. You're still doing that.
Still doing that. Tomorrow night, I have got John of the Pleased Women as my guest DJ. He's submitted a mix for us because it's Pride Month this month, and River Radio is supporting Pride Month. So John's submitted a mix. We've got Jay Ward. She's on my guest mix for next week. So yeah, it's really good. So it keeps me grounded. It keeps me, involved in the scene. And lockdown has been pretty good that way because there's so many radio shows going on, and I have a band called Bedford Falls Players, and the radio show is called the Bedford Falls Players Social. So it's not about Mark Cooper, it's about a collective. You know, we have so many people contributing to the program. A lot of the music that I play is from local artists, from producers, DJs, and people from the local area who are just so talented, and they're very generous giving me their music to play, and people just seem to be really digging it. So yeah.
That's what an incredible history of your career. It's amazing, and being able to still kind of do it, especially in lockdown, whilst also having your role at Starshipit is incredible.
Yeah, and it's I'm quite lucky because I think with the music, it's been such a natural thing. I don't have to spend hours and hours and hours. I know what's good now. I can, within listening to a track within a few minutes or a few bars, I think that's going to be amazing. And that's how I curate the shows. It's like, well, sometimes it's the first time I'm hearing something. If somebody sends me something, I trust them implicitly. And it's that wow moment. When you listen to music, don't tell me you don't get goosebumps when somebody plays a certain record. That there, if you could bottle that, that's how I try and kind of curate my music shows, to get that kind of that goosebumps moment.
Well, we always usually finish our interviews with a question of what album or book would you take to a desert island? So I want to know, with your vast music background, what music would you take with you?
Okay, so I would take this. So this is the Beatles' White Album.
Excellent. I mean, that is a classic.
But this is the actual the eShare demo. So this is actually a bit of a cheat. So there's a lot of music in here, and it's almost like the story of the White Album. And there's some beautiful. I mean, it's all records as well, so I'd need a record player to play it on. But this has got the White Album for the Beatles. I'm a huge Beatles fan. We're all Liverpool fans in the family here. Sorry if that offends any West Ham fans or Chelsea fans. But the Beatles have been a huge part of my life and my son's life, and the family. We all absolutely love them. The White Album is the Beatles' kind of swan song, if you like. All of the Beatles have done a really kind of personal thing where and it's very experimental and it's very open. There's so many different layers. I can still listen to that album now and think, crikey, I didn't hear that. There's always something new to find within that album. So it would be the White Album for sure.
Excellent. Well, that's a great one to take. Thank you so much for your time today, Mark. It's been really interesting, and I wish we had more time because we could spend hours talking. So yeah, really interesting, and hopefully we'll see you again very soon.
Awesome. Thanks.
Take care. Bye. Bye.